Hey everybody, what's going on? Your host, LovelyCheesePizza here. Welcome back to Sports Sunday, and we're playing more Baseball Stars. In the last episode, we took on the lovely ladies for the third time, and we are now 3-0. And we actually had a player hit a home run. It was amazing. In no way did I expect that to happen, but hey, I'm not mad. I'm totally not mad. So we've already distributed our talent points, and we're looking pretty good. For only being 3 games in, we're looking good. So hopefully we can extend the streak to 4-0. I'm not holding my breath on that. There's gonna be some games. We got Marv on the mound. That makes me feel a little bit better. We're gonna have some games that for no discernible reason necessarily, we're gonna have games where it just seems like absolutely nothing is going right. Like we're just gonna hit all these little ground ass balls right to people, and we're gonna have all these little shitty pop flies right to people, and we swung at that and it's still a ball. Oh yeah, there's definitely there's some funny business that happens in this game sometimes. You've already seen the weird things I can exploit with base running and whatnot, but there are times that I think it just really depends on like when you where the ball is at on the screen when you swing, that you can get away with it. You can get away with it sometimes. So that's really funny. Oh no! Or I mean, yes, this is good. We may get a triple out of this. Come on, is that Gus? Get on your high horse, Gus! God damn it! Thank you. Oh man, good old Gus John Candy, the fat ass. I mean, speaking of fat asses, Green Bay won today, and Lacy, I stuff my face full of freaking Baconators all the time, so my gut is just rolling over, you know, over my pants, and like my jersey and pads and everything can barely contain it. Lacy, he had a really good ass game today, dude. He was averaging like 7 yards a carry, and they beat Minnesota so tight. Needed that so badly. Like, this was one of those like kind of draw a line in the sand sort of games that if they didn't beat Minnesota, they were gonna end up being behind them by like 2 games in the division, and their season may have been over at that point. I know that they'd be only 6-4, but losing 4 games in a row and still not looking terribly great in the process, I would assume, had they lost. It would have been just all sorts of bad. But they actually looked really good. Like, Rodgers still not all the way there yet. I mean, we definitely had a lot of receivers dropping balls. I think freaking Randall Corn on the Cob dropped like 4 passes today. One of them was like right at his face. It was like right there, and he totally just couldn't freaking catch it. He was like already looking ahead at the rest of the play, and the thing just went off his hands and went nowhere. I was just like, the hell are you doing, man? But, dude, they look good. I mean, they kept Adrian Peterson, good old, you know, slapping your child with a switch Peterson. They kept him he only had like 45 yards. It was amazing. I would have never thought in a million years they were going to contain him like that. And they actually contained Teddy Bridge over troubled waters. And they kept him in check really well. I was surprised. I thought that he was going to throw all over the place. But, man, good times. They sacked him like 6 or 7 times. I am a happy man. Reclaiming first place in the division, so this is good. This is very good. Watch out for Danya. She's got the power. Not like the He-Man power, or no, that's I was thinking of Lino from Thundercats, where he's like, oh god, with the Thundercats, huh? But that's definitely, he says thunder and not I've got the power. That's totally He-Man. But yeah, dude. Another thing that happened was before I started playing this, I was watching the Portland Trailblazers play the Lakers, and they totally won, which is always a good thing. Anytime Los Angeles teams of any kind lose anything, I'm always, you know, really down with it. Especially considering that Oregon beat USC yesterday. Dun dun dun. Another Los Angeles team losing again, which is great. That always makes me happy. It's really weird that like USC, the team in the Pac-12 that's always, for the most part, been like the dominant force in the Pac-12, just for the last like 10 years or so, just totally, really, you know, letting Oregon get the best of them. And, like, they kicked their ass. Oregon absolutely raped their ball sacks, dude. Vernon Adams threw for, like, 6 touchdowns. The first time ever, mind you, that USC has ever given up 6 touchdowns to a quarterback. Never happened before up until yesterday. Through all of those years. So, that is good times. That's not good. It's just crazy. Like, Oregon could have had, like, they could be a playoff team right now. Like, Oregon is one of those teams that absolutely nobody wants to play at this point. Their offense is rolling. Their defense, even though it's still, on paper, not great, and they still do a lot of really stupid things at times, they're getting a lot better. I mean, they held USC to 28, which, with all of the weapons they have, to only score 28 points is it's kind of underachieving, really. But it's crazy that Oregon's having a season that's just really coming down to what would have been. And it sucks because, like, all of the pundits and the experts, they're all saying, like, if for the playoff committee, if they were actually, you know, using the real eye test to determine who the best 4 teams are, a lot of people are putting Oregon in the top 4. And I kind of believe it. I kind of believe it. There's not a lot of teams, I feel like, that would beat Oregon right now with as good as their offense is playing. But, what do you do? I really think that it comes down to that first week against Eastern Washington. I think they'd be 10-1, personally. I think they would have lost to Utah no matter what. But I think that it was in week 1 when they played against Eastern Washington. It was Vernon Adams' old team. And I think that their coach purposefully had one of his players, like one of his freshman players that means absolutely nothing to what happens on the field. Had him go out there and try to hurt him, and he did. He broke his index finger on his throwing hand, and it ruined virtually the entire season in a sense. Come on, that's dropping. That's a run on the board. Atta boy. Jesus. I was thinking it was starting to turn into one of those games for a minute, you know? We had a lot of things that weren't really happening, but we're gonna slowly break this thing open. So, you know, had that one scenario not happen, you know, Vernon probably ends up, like, Oregon probably beats Michigan State because they were 1 play away there. They would have beaten Washington State because they were, you know, they would have probably beaten them 65-38 instead of losing, you know, whatever to whatever. Oh, there we go. That could be another run if he can move. If he can move, he can't move. There's no way. He's a freak. He's a freak. He's the fastest kid alive. He's definitely not the fastest kid alive. That was some extremely slow base running. Oh shit, that's bad. That could be a triple play if there were no outs. Okay, I was waiting for that. I was like, please don't let it be a triple play. I don't want to succumb to a triple play right now. That would be the worst. But it didn't. So, yeah, dude, it's a what if thing. Like, I know Oregon's in ranked like 17th, but there are a lot of people that if the numbers part of it didn't matter, they would put Oregon in the top 4, and I think it's kind of cool, but, you know, I understand. Like, the season is what it is, and they're not going to be there, but they're still going to get a good bowl game, probably like the Holiday Bowl or something, so I'm totally down with that shit. But back to what I was originally talking about, I was watching the Blazer game, and they were playing the Lakers, and they totally won, which was awesome, but I'll tell you one thing that, like, really bummed me out, and I've never been a Kobe Bryant fan ever in my entire life. Like, for the most part, I've always just had, like a general loathing for him. Like, not like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, even though that movie's awesome. But I've never liked him. Like, he just seems kind of like a pompous ass, and there's just a lot of things that he does, like the jersey biting and all these other little you know, antics of his. How do you not stick your glove out and grab that thing? You lazy bitch, you. Oh my god, it's so funny. That is one of my favorite things to look at in this game when it happens, is just seeing that particular thing happen where you have someone standing on the base and the ball just rolls harmlessly right past them. It's so stupid. Like, all they would have had to do is just stick their arm out. Like, the ball was right there, and they just don't take it. It's so funny. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Never been a Kobe Bryant fan, just never in my life. But I'm not going to be one of those people that doesn't acknowledge that when all is said and done, he's gonna be in the Hall of Fame. Like, he's gonna go down as one of the best players to ever play the game of basketball. Ooh, they put in Taka. Yeah, this ought to be interesting. This ought to be interesting. This ought to be really interesting! Yeah! Oh, Marv, you delightful bastard, you. Oh, okay. I almost hit the wrong direction there. That would have ruined the whole thing. But I watched that game tonight, and I know that for the most part this year, he's not been very good. Like, I think one of the first games this season that I saw a stat line of his, he had like 28 points, but he ended up shooting like 8 for 30 or something like that. So obviously really inefficient, like really bad. And you know, I figured this was going to be his last year because obviously he's been playing for like almost 20 years now. So obviously you only have a little bit left. But we've kind of known with all the injuries he's had that, you know, the time's coming. But quote me on this right now. I don't think he's even going to make it through half the season. I think he's going to call it quits before the year is half over, or before the season's half over. I don't think with his competitive nature that he can tolerate playing like this anymore, you know? I watched the game tonight and he looked like he doesn't belong in this league anymore, you know? Like that's what I gathered out of it. And oh god. And it's kind of sad, really. Like, I don't like him, but you hate to see a guy that, like, you grew up with, like, you grew up watching him on TV, and he was pretty much dominating people ever since the very beginning. But, like, all of a sudden, just, like, turning on a game and seeing him out there, and he just looks terrible. Like, he looks awful out there. Tonight, I think he had, like, 15 or 17 points, but he shot, like 7 of 24, and he was like missing free throws, and on defense he just looked like lost half the time. Like, people were dribbling right by him, and like his post defense looked really bad, and he looks like a shell of himself. He really does. And just his body's breaking down. That's really what it comes down to. He just doesn't have it anymore. Like, he blew out his Achilles a couple years ago, and he damaged his shoulder really bad. I think it was last year. He just doesn't have it anymore, and it's really... Whoa, what the hell was that? Which way do I go? Which way do I go? Do I go the other way? Do I go back? Do I go the other way? Do I go back? That was creepy. It was like they got possessed or something. Oh, come on. Come down. Come down. Oh, barely. But yeah, dude, it was really sad to watch. Like, his shot was so flat, and like, I think he missed all of his threes. I think he went 0 for 6 from 3, and just, like, I think he actually airballed one, and a bunch of them were just clanging off the front iron. It was just, like, I was looking at my dad, and we're just like, man, he just doesn't have it anymore, does he? Like, I kind of want him, I kind of want him to hang it up before, you know, it gets any worse, you know? Because, like, when you're a guy like that and you've been competing at the highest level your whole career, like, it kills you inside when you can't compete anymore. And, like, everybody, like, we all know that he knows it. Like, you can tell, like, he'll do post-game interviews, and he's even saying it himself. He's like, I'm not good. He's like, I'm not good anymore. He's like, there's so many people that are better than me. Like, I think they did, like, preseason rankings for best players, and he's like, I'm not even in the top 100 right now. He's like, I'm just not. It's weird to hear a guy say that kind of thing, you know? Like, we expect him to be like, oh, you know, I'm one of the best players in the world still, but he knows it. And, I mean, I want him to be able to just hang it up and realize that, man, he's really fucking good. He always has been, even though I don't like him. He's definitely still one of the best ever. And who knows? Maybe he'll go and play in that Champions League that I was talking about last episode. I mean, he can't compete with people in this league now, but hey, you know, if to still make some money, you could still play in a league filled with 35 and 40-year-olds. Why not? You know, you're still gonna make about $200,000, and that's more than enough to live off of. Certainly. So give it a roll. But what do you do? You know. At least, I mean, at least that's one person that can retire and kind of be out of my scope of things forever. But, oh, that's gonna be a double play. At least it's not as bad as the Golden State quote-unquote fan I had to deal with the other night at the bar. Oh, God. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. I wanted to punch him in the face. So, but that's, you know, that's what happens. People need to shut their mouths when they're watching sports at bars sometimes. I get it, you're drinking beer and you're getting loose and your team's doing whatever, but it's like, you don't need to be a dick about it, okay? We get it. You like the team because they're good now, and, you know, you're trying to act like you know stuff about the game when you clearly don't. Like, this fucking guy, he had the balls to say that the reason why Golden State is undefeated right now is because of their coaching. Does he not realize that their head coach isn't even there? Like, Steve Kerr hasn't coached a game for them this season. Because I think he had, like back surgery or something, and so he's not even been with the team, really, at all. I'm sure he's probably been in contact, but he's not actually been there. Like, their head coach right now, for those of you that don't know, is freaking Luke Walton. It's Luke, I did absolutely crap in League Walton. That's who their guy is right now. So don't even try to tell me that, you know, they have amazing coaching and, oh my god, you really gotta take your hat off to the coaches. Dude, come on, it's Luke Walton, for God's sakes. Dude doesn't know what he's doing. It's the fact that you've got a bunch of really good players and they're just out there balling because there's certain players in this league that don't need coaching. Like, you know, Steph Curry, LeBron, Kevin Durant. Those guys don't need coaching, you know? Oh boy, we're getting to oh no! Oh boy, that is why you need to put a lot into the speed category, so stuff like that doesn't happen. That was terrible. Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, a lot of those guys, like, they're at a point where they don't really need coaching. You know, if you really wanted to, they could go out there and probably call their own plays and just kind of do things on their own. I mean, Peyton Manning, we all know that when he was in Indy, he was totally pretty much calling his own plays the whole time. That's realistically what was going on most of the time he was there. I mean, he'd audible every single play call up at the line, so whatever the coach called, he changed it pretty much at his own leisure. So, you know, I don't buy into the fact that Golden State's coaching is why they're 15-0. The reason why they're 15-0 is because they have a bunch of dudes that can shoot threes all day long. And it'd be really interesting, even though obviously it's not going to make a difference. But I've been thinking about this for the last couple weeks now, while they've been on this run of theirs. Is people are saying, well, you know, I think that Golden State would be able to wipe the floor with the 95-96 Bulls. They're just way better, way more competitive league these days, and just, you know, there's no way that Chicago would beat them. It's like, dude, get that shit out of here. I get it. Maybe they may have better shooters at this point, but teams like what Chicago did back then when they went 72-10, that was amazing. Like, if Golden State breaks the record, then more power to them. Like, it's good, but teams aren't as good now as they were back then. Like, the game now, the game of basketball now is really, it's highlight reels and three-pointers. That's what this league is now. Like, the mid-range game has totally disappeared completely, and it's all about, you know, it's all about isolation play, one-on-one. You're either gonna dunk or you're gonna shoot threes. Like, there's teams that are just bombing three-pointers like crazy. Like, Steph Curry at this point has more three-pointers made this season than the entire Brooklyn Nets team, and I think it was like Milwaukee. Like, he has more threes by himself than both of those teams, which shows A, how many he's making, and B, how many he's taking. Like, he's taken almost 200 threes already this season, if he hasn't done it already. It's insanity. And so, the reason, what I'm trying to drive at here is, what I'm thinking is, that kind of thing wouldn't fly. Like, there's no way that Golden State would be this successful in the 90s league, because A, teams were more balanced, they were way better defensively. Like, think about, like, some of the players that you had back in the day, in the mid-90s. Like, you had you had all these great teams, like, you know, you had Chicago, Cleveland was really good that year. You had, you know, the Spurs were really good that year. You had the New York Knicks were really good with John Starks and Patrick Ewing, and you had the Miami Heat, and you had Philadelphia was good at that point. You had, I don't know if Boston was good at that point or not, but there were, Atlanta was good at that point. They still had Dominique. Houston had Akeem Olajuwon, and you had like all of these Hall of Fame caliber players. You don't have that sort of thing right now. You just don't. And like the way the game was played was so much different. Like there was so much more smash mouth basketball going on. Like they allowed so much more in terms of what you could do defensively. Like think about like early '90s when like Detroit with the Bad Boys, when you had Dennis Rodman and you had Joe Dumars and you had Rick Mahorn and you had all these guys that would just, you know, batter and bruise the living hell out of you. And you had, Indiana, Reggie Miller, by the way, another team that was really good back then. Oh boy. Oh, you're done. Game over. We have won 6-0. 4-0 has been realized. Good times. But yeah, did you just they hand checking? You could totally get all up in someone's face, and they'd let the boys play. You know, it wasn't just like this little, oh, you barely touched me, it's a ticky-tack foul and all this shit. Like Golden State wouldn't be able to get away with a lot of the stuff they're getting away with. It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't, because you'd be able to body players up more. You'd be able to be a little bit more physical with them when they're trying to get open off the ball, and it would force them to have to play a different kind of basketball than just, oh, I'm going to dribble around to the perimeter and just jack up a three, you know? It wouldn't work that way. And I was also thinking at another point, like, I wonder if Golden State would be any good if they had to play back in the day when there was no three-point line. I feel like they wouldn't be able to succeed very, very well in that. And I could be wrong. Wow, he has no running at all. That is not good. Let's see. He's really fast. He's not that fast. We can probably deal with him. Get him 1 running, 1 prestige. Let's see. Let's go with running, defense. Actually, let's not worry so much about defense right now. We really want to focus mainly on offense and running. Defense we can deal with a little bit later, but for right now, these are the things that are important. Oh baby, this is good. Okay, running, batting, hitting, batting, prestige, good times. Let's work on some pitching. We need relief pitching. That's very important. There we go. Oh, Harry and Marv. Yeah, they definitely need it. They need prestige. So, there we go, and there we go. Okay. That's looking good. Do we have any money left at all for anybody? We do. We have exactly $12,000. How about, is there anybody left at 12? Ah, perfect. Awesome. Man, we are really making strides here. This is great. I really, our team is legit right now for 4 games. I really can't emphasize that enough. Normally when I play this, I'm not getting a lot of 4, 5, and 6 skill point things. I'm usually getting 3, 2, and 1 more often. So we've really made a lot of progress here. This is fantastic. But yeah, to finish off my thing here before I'm done is, back in the day, I don't remember exactly what year era it was, but back before the three-point line existed, when teams were successful when they had really good big men, and so obviously it didn't really pay off to just jack up long-range shots because you didn't get any more points for it. How good would Golden State be? Would they still win games if they had to play games against those types of teams, against teams like Wilt Chamberlain, where, would they be able to defend inside the paint? And would a lot of those guys be able to make the mid-range jumper? Because a lot of them, they don't practice that. The mid-range, 18-foot jumper has totally died in today's game. And so they'll practice, stuff really, really close inside it, for layups and short range, and then they just, deal with a bunch of 20-footers, Would they be able to even do it? Because it's precision. It's hard stuff. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'm way off base on this and I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it's just stuff that's been mulling around in the old noggin lately. So, with that said, my friends, I think we'll call it quits for this episode. When we come back on the next episode of Sports Sunday, we're going to move into our 5th matchup with the lovely ladies, and we'll see if the streak continues. And I'll have more stuff to talk about then. And, oh, by the way, really quick, I'm going to win my fantasy matchup this week, but my top scoring player was a kicker. I had Mason Crosby this week, and he had 22 points, and he scored more than anybody else on my team. That is just mind-boggling, but he had like 5 field goals, so fantasy football is a weird thing, man. It is a weird-ass thing, but I ain't arguing. My hopes for winning some money are still alive, so I'm down. But yeah, until then, my friends, this is Lovely Cheese Pizza saying thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.